Okay, so I thought this would be kind of interesting. I'm trying to think about where my current fitness is based upon a recent race performance and using a running calculator. And when I was doing it, and you just Google running calculator, you get a whole bunch of different options. You get one from Runner's World. You get ones from Luke Humphreys and the Hansen team. You get one from McMillan. There's a bunch of different options out there. And so I was curious what the difference is between them because you get different times depending upon what you put into them and why are they different and a little bit more about it. So I thought this would be interesting, so I thought I want to share it. So here's what I'm trying to do. I set a goal, which is I would love to qualify to run the New York City Marathon because for my age group, it is a harder time standard than the Boston Marathon. So I thought it would be an interesting goal. The next one would be to qualify for the Olympic marathon, but that's never going to happen. So, in my age group, which is here as a master's runner, to qualify for the New York City Marathon, you need to have run a 2:58 marathon or a 1:25 half marathon. Now, my marathon time that I said in December was 2:58:03. So, I barely missed it. So, I think I'm close. But I'm not there yet. And so what I want to do is shoot for a half marathon and see if I can at least do it that way. It might be more painful, I don't know, but I want to try. And so I was curious around, am I in half marathon shape? That's kind of the question. And a 125 half marathon is like a 629 or a 630, like a 629 mile, 629, 630. So that's sort of where we're at. So I went to these race calculators. I went to Runner's World. They have one. I typed in a number. I went to Luke's, typed in his thing, went to McMillan, and I all got different things. And so I was curious on what's different. So then I found this website, which I thought was pretty good. So it's on the runner space. Okay. And you type in your marathon time. This isn't it, but I kind of had to fudge it a little bit to get it so it shows up down here. So here's my latest marathon time, 2:58:03, right? And that's the time that they're now going to use as the baseline for the different available calculation methods that exist. And apparently, there's four big ones. There's Purdy, Vo2 Max, Cameron, and Rigel. Okay. Now, the Rigel, and then, so the question is, what are these things? So let's go to the next tab. If you click here, it has more information about them. So here's the Rigel method. It's a very simple formula right here. Pete Rigel's method is your initial time, your initial distance. It does sort of like a ratio, and then it has this factor of racing to the 1.06, and that's how it calculates the distance. And that number this formula turns out to be the way that Runner's World is calculating it. It's using the Rigel method. So that's interesting to know. The other popular one, which is Luke Humphreys' website, is also using the Rigel method, it looks like. So these two common websites are using the Rigel method to calculate your pace time. Okay, so that's good to know. Now, the other methods are a little bit different. So let me just look at something real quick. All right. So this says 125.36, which is pretty close to like that one. Interesting. Okay. So 2:58:03 is my current time. The Rigel method, which is the same, the Runner's World and the Luke Humphrey one, says that I am in 125.24 shape. So not quite in 125, a little bit slower. Okay, that's good to know. That is interestingly very similar to this method, which is the Vo2 Max method. And the Vo2 Max method uses this more complicated formula. It is Newton's method and derivatives of quadratic equations. So basically, here's the formula, right? There's a constant plus a exponential curve here, plus another exponential curve, right? And that's your percent max. It does your VO2 calculation, your VO2 max over your percent max. Okay, so it's taking your time and your VO2 to give you a VO2 max, and then it's plotting it on the VO2 max curves, kind of like the ones you might see in Jack Daniel's books that give you a distance. So this calculated formula turns out, in my case, to be very similar to Reigel's very simple formula. So they're each giving me a time that is right around 125, 124 right there. And so that is about 631, 632 a mile. So a little bit slower than we need to be, but that's kind of where I'm at. For reference, I just did, well, no, that it's early, so I'm not going to say anything. Now, your other two methods here have me doing about a minute faster here and about 90, I don't know, about a little over 90 seconds faster in that method. So this is the Purdy method and the Cameron method. So under the Purdy and the Cameron method, I'm flying. And it turns out that the Purdy method is a very similar time as you get in the McMillan training module. So if you're using the McMillan training paces, it looks like his is using the Purdy method. And I think I saw that on Let's Run forum too. So I think that's it. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I think that is what's happening here. So this has me being a little bit more speedy than the other ones. Let's see what their formula is. So the Purdy method is taking your time and it's translating it into Purdy points, and then it's back calculating what the time associated with that same Purdy points for other distances. So I need to read a little bit more about, and by the way, yeah, so the VO2 max is related to the Jack Daniel's system here. The Purdy points, here we go. The Purdy points table, a way of assigning a worth to a performance at almost any distance, with the comparable performances across distance being worth an equal number of points. Also known as the Portuguese scoring tables, the Purdy calculations are matched the lookup charts and the computerized. Okay, there we go. So this is based upon a whole bunch of empirical data on performances and how they translate into other performances based upon a database of empirical results. That's the Purdy table. So if you use the Purdy table, I'm looking pretty good. I'm at a 124.26. I got a nice buffer, so that's interesting. And that's about a minute faster than the VO2 would say, and about a minute faster than the Rigel formula would say. So the empirical data here, it's kind of interesting. Now, what is the Cameron method? The Cameron method has me really getting after it. So the Cameron method is, okay, it's another empirical model, and it's based upon the top 10 times in the world at each distance, and it uses them to compute comparable performances across distances. The speed versus distance model works well for post-1995 records at 800 meter through 10K. From 1964 onward, also works well for the marathon. The calculation is as follows, with new time and old time being in seconds. So basically it says you have, so the formula, your new time equals your old time divided by your old distance times AOB times new distance. And A equals, okay. So it looks like these constants that are manipulating your old distance and your time, this is what they're getting from empirical data, right? But see, now I'm curious. How is Dave Cameron's model calculated? How is Dave Cameron's running model calculated? Let's see what this says. So he used the nonlinear regression of these different times. Okay. So again, this is again a empirical model taught 10 times in the world at various distances to compute performances across distances. And then he fitted that with a model, an equation, which is this equation, and then you're using that for that one. Okay, so here's my thought on that one. That to me is the most aggressive one, and that seems to be the one I don't want to follow because it seems hard for me to believe that I'm close to what the top 10 people would do in terms of performance across distances. And so I don't like that one. So I'm not going to look at him. And so that leaves me with the Rigel formula, the Vo2 formula, and then age grading. So that's kind of interesting. So we didn't look at the age grade formula. So let's try that. We're going to use this website now and see if it gives me the age grade time, which would be kind of interesting. So 2 hours, 58, 3 seconds, and I'm a male, age 40. So let's see what it says. So here's the Vo2 Max. Apparently that's considered very poor. Interesting. Oh, you know what? Miles. Let's try it again. Okay. Excellent. That's not too bad. Okay, so the Regal formula. It's so weird, right? Like it rounds us up to 258.14 when I should be at 258.03, right? You almost have to like fudge it a little bit to get it down to that. So let's say it's 257.53. Yeah, now this is a little bit closer, right? All right, let's just take it back up. 253. Okay, so check this out, right? This is truth. 258.03 is a true number for me. Rigel says that my half marathon should be 125.24, which is okay, yeah. So now we're getting the same numbers. Okay, I like this table. So 125.24, which is slower than my standard. It is what it is. Cameron is 123.48, which is where I lost it. Oh yeah. So okay, all right. So we're getting the same data now. Great. Okay. So Cameron says 123.48, Vo2 Max 125.19. Age grading is 124.33. Okay. So I like this because now I like this website better, Go Race, as opposed to the other one, because the other one had the oh no. Sorry, we lost the Purdy points. That's interesting. Okay, but we picked up age grading. So the age grading scoring table is you'll be able to run the same age grade performance at every distance. The age grade scored is percentage ratio between the world record for your age time. So 40 man. Okay. And so there you go. It takes my age grade and applies it there. So the average date could be 120. So this is interesting. I like this one. So this would all say that I am sitting right below a 125 half marathon. So I guess it's possible. Anyways, all right. That was a little bit of a detour. Hopefully that is helpful to all of you. But that's kind of how I'm thinking about, is this possible, and getting different training paces. And it's helpful to know if you type in a calculator, make sure you realize which formula they're using, and you get different results, whether it's the Rigel, Cameron's model, which I don't think is the right one. So let's not use that one. The Vo2 Max, which I think is interesting, the Vo2 tables that Jack Daniels uses. Age grading, also another empirical one that's kind of interesting. We lose the Purdy points in this one compared to this website. And so that's an interesting one. And that seems to be what McMillan's using over here. So moral of the story is make sure you know what formula is being used in your calculator, because you can get a variety of results. And I don't know if the right answer is taking an average. I think the better answer is probably taking the average of the two highest ones as like where you're probably at. So for me, I think Rigel and age grading 124.33 is probably closer to reality, which means I need to get a little bit more fit if I want to go achieve that goal. Anyways, take care.